From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Wednesday, October 22, 2025. A triumph at the White House that reshapes the Australia-US relationship. And no, Kevin Rudd shouldn't be sacked. That's the take from our editor-at-large, Paul Kelly, on Anthony Albanese's long-awaited house call on Donald Trump in Washington, DC. Tuesday morning in the White House, and it's no wonder Anthony Albanese is smiling.
The man on my right has a big advantage. You know that, right? But I think he's doing a really good job, and we've had a very good relationship. I don't want to compare one with the other, but I'll tell you, this one is, they really have a great prime minister.
Albanese's first face-to-face meeting with the re-elected Donald Trump went better than could possibly have been imagined. And the White House's succinct takeout tells us a lot about how the administration perceives us. President Donald J. Trump closes billion-dollar deals with Australia. That's how the White House headlined its media release, trumpeting agreements to develop critical minerals together, for Australia to purchase billions in American weaponry, for Australian super funds to dramatically increase their investment in the US, and for close collaboration on quantum computing and AI. Paul Kelly is The Australian's editor-at-large. Paul, we know Donald Trump likes to win. Who's the real winner here?
There are two big winners here, Anthony Albanese and Donald Trump. And that's the entire point. This is a tremendous victory for Anthony Albanese. I mean, for the last 9 months, there's been massive speculation that he's not up to the job, that he couldn't get on with Donald Trump, that he wouldn't be able to further the interests of the alliance. This was the relentless attack from the coalition parties. Well, we've had the meeting. How did it go? Donald Trump praised Anthony Albanese as a great leader. He praised the alliance. He endorsed the AUKUS nuclear-powered submarine agreement, and we got a fantastic new agreement on critical minerals between Australia and the United States. So this meeting wasn't just a face-saver for Anthony Albanese. What's actually happened is that Albanese and Donald Trump are taking the Australian-American alliance to a new level, to a new stage. This is really a great sense of triumph for both leaders.
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if you said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will.
There was an awkward moment when Ambassador Kevin Rudd's history of criticising Trump was brought up. Rudd apologised, Albanese laughed it off, and Trump laughed too. How did you read that exchange?
It was a fascinating moment, wasn't it? And I think, the media's got terribly carried away with it. I think the interesting thing was Trump didn't really know who Kevin Rudd was. And then, of course, he made the comment, well, I don't like you. And we're evidently told that after that, Rudd apologised and all sweet. The point I'd make about that is the coalition fell for it. We had the coalition leader, Susan Lee, then subsequently saying that she thinks the Australian government should recall Kevin Rudd.
Well, Kevin Rudd really was the elephant in the room, Pete, and it's a bit awkward, isn't it? It's taken nearly a year to get this meeting, and that's been a failure of the ambassador. And I think that tells us all we need to know about the fact that it's probably not reasonable that he continue in the role, because there are critically important issues to address. And
please, these people aren't serious. The idea that the Australian government should turn around after a brilliantly successful meeting between Trump and Albanese and decide that, it's all Kevin Rudd's fault. For some reason, because the coalition's complaining we must withdraw Kevin Rudd because of the comments made by Donald Trump. Well, I don't think Donald Trump particularly cares one way or another about Kevin Rudd. That was pretty clear. What we do know about Donald Trump is he was prepared to do some deals big time with Anthony Albanese, and that is what counts. The other point I'd make about this is this meeting is a victory for Kevin Rudd. Rudd has been organising the critical mineral strategy for the last several months. So in this sense, in terms of the outcome, in terms of the result, this is a very significant outcome and a very significant win for Kevin Rudd. That's the reality that the coalition doesn't get. They are so out of touch with Australian-American relations. They've been out of touch for 9 months. Most of what they've said for the last 9 months is either misleading or plain wrong, and they still haven't learnt.
Donald Trump obviously doesn't mind people who have a history of criticising him. You know, maybe he thinks that they've just seen the light. JD Vance is a great example of that, Marco Rubio too, and they were both there at that meeting today. They've said much worse things about Donald Trump than Kevin Rudd has. What does that tell us, do you think, about the kind of politician and maybe even person Donald Trump is?
Donald Trump is a paradox. He's a conundrum. He's unpredictable. Sometimes he nurses grievances, and other times he turns around and changes his mind, pivoting on a dime, if you like. Trump can be often difficult to read, but the point to make about Trump is he's a transactional politician. Now, this is very important. If you're a transactional politician, it means you're a pragmatist. It means you will look at the bottom line. You will look at the balance sheet. You will look at what a particular proposal is there to offer you. And what happened on this particular occasion was Anthony Albanese came to Washington bearing gifts. I mean, we are giving the United States a lot under the AUKUS agreement, and we're giving them a lot under the Critical Minerals Agreement. So Trump looks at the bottom line as a transactional president, and he says, yeah, I'll take that.
Coming up, more with Paul Kelly. Anthony Albanese is of the left of the Labor Party, but he certainly has critics who are much further left than him, both within Labor and without. How do you think they will respond to this, and what does it tell us about Albanese that he's prepared to, be Donald Trump's best friend if that's what it takes?
Look, this is a really good question, and I think the answer is quite illuminating here. Albanese, as a former left-wing activist, is now in the most extraordinary position. He is a Prime Minister who has utter command of the Labor Party, now engaging with Donald Trump in a deepening of the strategic and military ties between Australia and the United States. And the left in the Labor Party, to the extent they don't like this, can do nothing about it at all, because Albanese has total command of the Labor Party. So that is particularly fascinating. Let's then talk about the left outside the Labor Party, in particular the Greens. They hate this. They can't stomach this. They oppose AUKUS. They're hostile to this meeting between Trump and Albanese. They will complain about it till the cows come home. And you know what? Albanese will love them complaining because it will make him look like the centrist that he is in so many ways. The point about this meeting between Trump and Albanese is, in domestic terms, it reinforces Albanese's quest to cast himself as the natural Prime Minister, the natural centrist. And if you are going to be the natural Prime Minister, one of the requirements is you must be a champion of the Australian-American alliance. Well, guess what? That's what Albanese now is.
Albanese likes to say that he's been underestimated all his life. Certainly until perhaps a couple of weeks ago, we didn't know what this meeting was going to look like, whether it would happen at all or whether it could go badly wrong within the meeting itself. Do you think that underestimation that he perceives in his critics is part of why there was so much doubt about how this meeting would go?
I think that's partly a factor. There's no doubt at all that Albanese has been underestimated, and he has been underestimated by the coalition in terms of his capacity to deal with Trump and his capacity to deal with the United States. However, it's also true that Albanese took a lot of risks. Just think about what's happened over the course of the year. He was not prepared to significantly increase defence spending, which is what the Americans wanted. He changed Australian policy on Israel, which is not what the Americans liked. He engaged in recognition of a Palestinian state. He attacked the American administration and Trump over tariffs, made it absolutely clear that he didn't like what they were doing on tariffs. When you put all this together, you can see that Albanese's actually taken quite a lot of risks in dealing with Trump, and you can understand a number of people suggesting, well, things mightn't go all that well when they finally meet. But what's happened is Albanese's vindicated. Trump offered him a lot of concessions. Trump didn't complain about defence spending. He offered Albanese an out on defence spending. He said in relation to the tariffs that Australia's tariffs were the lightest of any country. And while he didn't cut the tariffs, of course, no one expected him to. But again, if you like, he reinforced the point that Albanese had made about the tariffs. So I think the really interesting point to make about this is Trump decided he wanted this meeting to be a success. Trump decided that he wanted to get on with Albanese, and he decided there were significant advantages for the United States in him doing that. And that is a tribute to Albanese.
Is there luck there for Australia in the timing that China had just shocked the White House by saying it might introduce export controls on rare earths? Suddenly or gradually, Trump needed an ally who's got a lot of minerals in the ground.
Look, the great irony about this meeting and the timing of the meeting is that the delayed meeting was great news for Australia and great news for Albanese. Because essentially, as you've just said, we've had China making this recent announcement about its obsession to monopolise control and supply lines of critical minerals and rare earths. And of course, Trump responded very aggressively to that. Well, this played beautifully into Australia's hands in terms of the Australian initiative on critical minerals. So yes, I think one of the great ironies of this situation is that it suited Albanese to be only seeing Trump at this time rather than seeing Trump 6 months earlier.
Paul Kelly is The Australian's editor-at-large. You can read his inimitable take, as well as all the nation's best news, sport, politics and business, right now at theaustralian.com.au.